Can you believe it? The Bears win 24-18 over the Los Angeles Rams, and we're going to break it all down here. But first things first, competent play calling and common sense. It does a lot, doesn't it? Let's get into it.
Here's your host, 12-inch.
Now, first, I like to say this is what I like to see out of a football team. This looked way more organized. And then on top of that, the defense is still sharp, still doing its thing. Defense is dangerous, can even score for you. Get the takeaways, get the pressures. Montez Sweat was out there flying around. Jaquan Brisker was hitting people. He was doing his job. I mean, when you look at the whole situation, the whole thing that we had to really focus on was the offense. Shane Waldron coming in over from Seattle, brand new players, a rookie quarterback, and it's going to take a while for it to gel. I mean, I realize that some people out there are like, yo, the Bears should be 4-0 if it was just for some common sense play calling, and I agree. Especially when you have the ball on the goal line or 1 yard out, and then you try to get fancy, you try to get pretty with it. This week, no. We ran it right down their throats, ran it right in, and they did the right thing. Now, when you look at Caleb Williams and his play as of right now, I see the growth. I actually see the growth. I see what he's deciding to choose as far as what he's trying to get accomplished. If the play's not there, he's taking the sack, he's throwing the ball away. If there's something where he can at least make some minimal play or get some minimal yards, he's checking it right down. He could do it a little bit faster, but this comes with time, guys. This comes with time. I'm not seeing where Caleb's ceiling is nowhere near being hit. And with the right pieces around him, Keenan Allen back into the fold in today's game, you saw a little bit more of a dynamic to the game. And you could also argue shuffling that O-line helped out quite a bit. It's still not the greatest O-line, but there was times in it where Caleb actually had time to throw the ball. Now, Caleb's accuracy has to improve. The first 4 games of his NFL career, we see him overthrowing. That could be just him not wanting to underthrow, get an interception, not trying to put the ball in harm's way. It could be many things, but I do believe that will actually work itself out. Caleb, you did a good job. I know it's not throwing for 363 yards, but 157 yards and a touchdown. But it should have been 2 to DJ Moore. Should have been 2. That you overthrew it twice on that one series. But doing that while you're learning the game goes a long way. He's looking across the field to see what Matthew Stafford's doing, all the great things that Matthew does, and then he's seeing also some of the mistakes that Matthew has been making in this game. That does a lot for a young rookie quarterback. He needs that education. So even though you only threw for 157 yards and you got 1 touchdown, you did have some great scrambles in there as well. That's enough to win the game. As long as you're not out there putting the team in jeopardy by fumbling the ball, by throwing interceptions, which we've had our share as Chicago Bears fans of seeing that. But at the same time, we have somebody who's competent, who's learning. I see his level going, it's going to be high, but I see it going up, and I see the intelligence and how he's choosing what to do. Now, as far as getting back to the play calling and Shane Waldron, you took a step forward today. And one of the great things that I saw this week about Shane was that he was willing to sit down with the captains to figure out, how do we solve the situation? What do you feel more comfortable with? What do you think we should have done in this situation? When you have cohesion and you have formula for chemistry, which means teamwork, you can get a lot more accomplished. If you're just trying to run plays and you're trying to shove it down the players' throats, you're not going to get anywhere, especially if they don't agree with calls that make no sense. Now, sometimes you have to have trick plays, you have to get pretty with it, but in this case, we kept it simple, we kept it basic. Matt Eberflus did a pretty good job. I like the fact that he decided to change his mind. Instead of giving the ball on 2nd and 5, he decided, would have been 3rd and 5, he decided to accept that penalty and push them all the way back to 2nd and 15. That's the call. I was actually confused at that point. I was like, what are you doing, Matt? Come on, man. We can't go through this type of crap. You'd rather have the team further away from a first in that situation than put them right there within reach. But overall, we saw the offensive line do some good stuff. And it's going to take a while for them to gel as well. Tevin Jenkins went down. I didn't like that part. You know, everybody gets hurt. This is football. Tevin Jenkins, I think he's just about to hit his stride. Things are looking pretty good over there. But bringing in Nate Davis, wow. That's a whole nother subject. Nate Davis. We know Nate Davis could be a lot better than what he's been displaying. He's better than what he's been showing on the field. But as soon as he came in, he accounted for 3 penalties right at the top. Was it like a holding? But they called it on somebody else, but it was actually him. And like 2 false starts or something of that nature. He needs to clean that up. We need this O-line to come together and be stout in front of a rookie quarterback that's trying to actually make plays. You got to give time to let these plays develop. But DeAndre Swift went nuts. He went bonkers. He went all out. You get the ass and gear award because you got your ass in gear and then kicked it up another level. Now check this out. DeAndre Swift went in, got 16 carries for 93 yards, 1 TD. His long was 36 yards. And then on the receiving end, he had 7 receptions for 72 yards. His long was a 27. And I'm talking about the man balled out. Roschon Johnson was used beautifully. He was used on short yardage situations where you know this man gets north and south and he could punch it through. He did a great job as well. He had 7 carries for 26 yards. He also had a TD. His long was 8, but we're not looking for him to break off the DeAndre Swift type yards. We have DeAndre Swift. And then looking at the whole situation, Caleb Williams was 17 for 23 for 157 yards, 1 TD. And like I said, that is good enough for a rookie quarterback. We know he can sling the rock. We know once he gets more time and people are open, the play calls will open up. The dynamics will be right there in HD, baby. He will be in HD once we get things settled and we get that O-line unified. Moving on, we're looking at Cole Kmet with 3 receptions, 34 yards total. His long was a 22. It was beautiful. DJ Moore came through. He only had 3 receptions, 22 yards, but he had that TD. But to be honest with you, he should have had that second TD as well, but he got overthrown twice. I think Keenan Allen made a big difference. He got 3 receptions, 19 yards total, his long 8. And Rome Odunze, he didn't really get that much shine today. You know, sometimes things are like that. You got pretty much 3 wideouts that could be number 1 on any given team in a sense. Rome Odunze, he got 1 reception for 10 yards, but it was a good one. Now, looking at the Los Angeles Rams, they played their butts off. They played hard. The Rams are a formidable team, and they do have 2 starting pieces, huge pieces, that were missing in today's game. So moving forward, just because they're in a 1-3 deficit, that doesn't mean that's all she wrote. No. That's not all she wrote. She just got up to get another pin. That's all it is. Once they get back online, Matthew Stafford will have his weapons, and you will see a marked difference, a huge difference out of the Rams. I mean, we saw Matthew being pressured. He got sacked a couple times, but he did go 20 for 29 for 224 yards. He had 1 interception. Could have been 2, but he had 1 interception, and he was under duress a little bit. But the thing is, when you give a man like Matthew Stafford, who has that much talent, so much time, you see what he can do. He can cut through right through any kind of defense, and the Bears have a top-tier defense. We're also looking at Tutu Atwell. He had a great showing today. He had 4 receptions for 82 yards, as long as a 25. Jordan Whittington also had 6 receptions for 62 yards. And Demarcus Robinson, he had 2 receptions for 37 yards. And to be honest with you, Matthew Stafford did show why he's such an elite quarterback. He did have that 1 fumble loss, but this guy is a baller, and we will see him move on from this game and do great things. And one of the biggest assets that we have on our team right now, he's damn near, to me, a candidate for Rookie of the Year for what he can do with his leg. And we're not talking about Cody Parkey, guys. We're talking about Dory Taylor. Dory Taylor flips the field pretty much every time. He can place it where he wants, and that made a huge difference, especially when you're talking about the end of the game where he flipped it with a 65-plus yard punch and then puts it pretty much right on their 5. Hey, man, that kid's incredible. I don't know what they're going to call him. I don't know what his nickname is. I know he doesn't like the punter from down under, but I tell you what, man, you're getting the Bears up and over, and that's all that matters. You are balling. My prediction was 24-17. I think the Bears came in and did what they need to do. And if they did do the same thing and they had competent coaching the first, or actually the last 2 games, we might be looking at a 3-1 or a 4-0 record right now and be tied with Minnesota. Minnesota at the beginning of the year, everybody said that they would be probably at the bottom of the division. Look again, baby. 4-0. They put a spanking on the Green Bay Packers for most of that game. It did end up being pretty close. We will cover that as well. Make sure you don't miss an episode right here on the Adult Sports Situation Network. Sports, sometimes a little bit of comedy, special guests, call-ins. We're going to have a ball right here on this channel. Make sure you do like, share, and subscribe. So next time we pull up in your YouTube feed, you get your ass in.